Time for your Week 7 whiteboard with the New Orleans Saints coming to town. Just 1-5, noon game on Fox. And look at this. The Bears are favored. That's right. 5-point favorites in this game over the New Orleans Saints. Your over-under is 47 points. Last week, the Saints lost to the Patriots. Kind of a similar game where Drake May had a big win the week before over the Bills. Came to New Orleans. Same draft class. Caleb Williams, big win in Washington. Now facing the Saints. And again, I mentioned they're 1-5. Look at their coach, just like Ben Johnson, new head coach for the Saints. Kellen Moore came over from the Eagles. Of course, won the Super Bowl there as their offensive coordinator. He brought along with him Doug Nussmeier, who has been with them for the last 5 years in 3 different spots. Went from Dallas to the Chargers to Philly and now to New Orleans. He's the OC, but Kellen Moore calls the plays. Doug Nussmeier, if that name sounds familiar, Garrett Nussmeier is his son, the starting quarterback at LSU, who probably should be a first-round pick this coming draft. The defensive coordinator, another familiar name, Brandon Staley, who's with the Bears back when Khalil Mack got traded to the Bears, of course, from the Vic Fangio tree. Went on to become the head coach of the Chargers. Didn't work out there. He was the assistant head coach for Kyle Shanahan last year with the 49ers and then rehired as the defensive coordinator. Think Vic Fangio when you think the Saints defense. They're lacking a little talent, but it's still exotic. It's a fun scheme. It'll cause some challenges for Caleb Williams. Their special teams coordinator is Phil Galliano. He's been there as their assistant special teams coach the last 6 years. He was promoted when Darren Rizzi, one of the better special teams coordinators there is in the entire league, moved on to go join Sean Payton's staff with the Broncos this year. Rizzi, of course, was the interim head coach last year. He ends up leaving. Galliano promoted. Interestingly, though, special teams has taken a big hit since Rizzi left, so that could be a big factor in this game. See if the Bears have an advantage there. Talk about who the Saints added. Justin Reed, you know him, the safety, backup kicker sometimes. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver added. Devon Godchaux, big nose tackle because they needed one to change the scheme up with Brandon Staley running the 3-4. He gets added in a trade. They didn't lose much in the offseason. Kind of a rebuilding team. So in terms of who they lost, I just wrote down Tano Passanio because he's on the Bears now. Followed Dennis Allen over. In terms of EPA per play and looking at this matchup, not really any of these units ranking very highly, although look at the Bears defense creeping up a little bit. Now 18th in EPA per play, offense 23rd. We'll get into some of the specifics with the offense in a second. In terms of the Saints, neither of these units are particularly good. Offensively, they rank 27th in EPA per play. Defensively, 22nd. Want to focus first on the Bears offense going up against this Saints defense because it is an interesting matchup, and you've probably heard by now all week that despite some of these numbers, despite some of their deficiencies, the Saints, they've been playing pretty hard under Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley. I've been calling them feisty all season, and I expect that to be the case on Sunday against the Bears. However, matchup-wise, the Bears should have some advantages here. So while I mentioned the 23rd offensively in EPA per play, look at that EPA per dropback number. It's continuing to kind of creep up for Caleb Williams in the offense, in the passing game. Now 13th. Very good. I mean, and headed in the right direction. It can still be better, obviously, but that's what you like to see. That's what Ben Johnson has been talking about. And for the Saints defense, they're 27th in EPA per dropback. So probably some opportunity for the Bears to move the ball through the air. Now, important note, though, explosive percentage defensively for the Saints, they rank 5th. So they don't give up a ton of explosive plays. Of course, that factors in the run game as well. I still think the Bears should be able to move the ball through the air. EPA per rush, 30th for the Bears. Still, obviously, can be a lot better. They were 32nd last week, though, so they moved up 2 spots with their big game against Washington. Saints defense, pretty good against the run, though. They rank 6th. Keep that in mind. I want to mention the 12 personnel again, the 12 personnel percentage. Bears used less of it last week against the Commanders, and part of that, I think, is because in 11 personnel, their EPA is now up to 14, so they're having success with more wide receivers on the field. That being said, as we get into some of the matchups, we got to watch DJ Moore, who's hurt with that groin injury that sent him to the hospital on Monday night. If he's not able to play, that could change the game plan. Probably will change the game plan. Obviously, he's pretty darn important. That being said, this isn't the worst week to not have DJ Moore if they don't. I kind of like the idea of getting Luther Burden some more work and maybe see what it looks like when Rome Odunze has to carry a larger workload or target share. So maybe a little fortunate that way. Although we'll see, maybe DJ can still play. It's still relatively early in the week. In terms of the Saints injuries, Isaac Yiadom, one of their corners, is dealing with a hamstring. He may be out. And then the other thing I wanted to focus, Chase Young, I put him over here in this box because he's technically still not a starter because he's been hurt. He finally came back last week against the Patriots, and they kind of just worked him in there. I expect his load to go up more. So with Granderson and Cam Jordan, obviously, you get Chase Young on the field a little bit more. This could be interesting with some of these matchups, like when Young and Cam Jordan are on the field at the same time. That could test Theo Benedict. So we'll continue to see right here with Theo Benedict if he can continue to play well, because I think this will be at times a tougher matchup than he had on Monday night against the Commanders. And quickly, let's go over to the Saints offense. I should have mentioned some of their draft picks. Calvin Banks Jr. is their left tackle out of Texas. Liked him a lot. He was picked right ahead of where the Bears took Colston Loveland. I think the Bears liked him too. They got a couple young tackles here in Fuaga on the right side as well as they try to build this thing back up. And Spencer Rattler at quarterback. He's been okay. He's been fine. The numbers don't blow you away, but you kind of factor in expectations. Remember, they drafted Tyler Shuck in the second round, and Rattler won the job. And the interesting nugget about Rattler, and you probably already heard this, he was the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. When he was benched, it was in favor of Caleb Williams. So you got that Caleb Williams kind of Spencer Rattler rivalry going on in this game as well. One thing I love to see here, there's no red on the Bears defense. Now, obviously Grady Jarrett is not listed here, and he could still be out, and they're missing Jalen Johnson. But with these guys that were out there last week, healthier defense is good. In terms of the Saints offense, EPA per rush, 21st. Explosive percentage, dead last in the league. Not a ton of explosive plays, so they can be contained. And their EPA per drop back is just 24. So again, Spencer Rattler has been okay based on expectations, but certainly not great. We'll be watching Alvin Kamara, who's dealing with an ankle injury, and Chris Olave dealing with a hip injury. Overall, Dennis Allen should be able to contain his former team with what the Saints have in terms of firepower. Should be all right. And going back to the Bears offense, I like some of these matchups. Even if DJ Moore is out, it's going to be tough for the Saints to stop the Bears wide receivers in this game. Caleb Williams should be able to take another step forward in Week 7. There's your Week 7 look at the New Orleans Saints.